and say like, I'm just waiting to be a millionaire. That's when I start investing. Or I'm waiting, I can't be saving this 15K I'm getting. I can't be saving this 20 Gs I'm getting. Like, I always want to see people thrive. I hope you will also thrive. As you're watching this, I hope that no one is left behind in this journey. We are keeping each other accountable. Do you know any scripture in the Bible that talks about money? I'm giving you a minute to think. I know which one you know. Money is the root of every evil. Actually, to surprise you, the scripture does not say money, but the love of money. So many people know this scripture, and they actually use it out of context when it comes to money. And this is especially believers. You find that most believers will use this scripture maybe not to want to talk about money or even really think so much about money. But I totally believe that it is important to commit your plans to the Lord. So welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Gertrude. This is the channel where we talk about everything positivity, do everything creativity as we exalt Christ. So today I'm going on with reflecting on my 20s as I navigate my 30s. I'm trying to pick lessons from my 20s and use them to make even better decision, hopefully make even better decision in my 30s. Particularly, I'm doing that in regards to money. I'm reflecting on how I perceived and used money in my 20s and how I am now perceiving money and how I am using it in my 30s, or how I hope to use it in my 30s. So let's get into it. Before we even get to the 20s, as usual, let's get to the foundations. Of course, the foundations inform how I perceived money in my 20s. And I'll start by saying, I think my earliest memories, I was actually trying to reflect as I was coming up with this. And what I remember clearly when it comes to my family, I remember, yes, money was scarce, very, very scarce. But in context, I grew up with both my parents in my initial stages of life. That is before I became a teenager, when I was still young. And I remember money being scarce. But later in life, I remember my mom being very transparent about money. She would bring money and she'll just put it on the table, and she'll be like, this is what we have, this is what we'll do with it. Actually, we'll pray for it, and then we'll start budgeting for it. And she'll budget so well in such a way that it was very little money. I can't even mention it. It used to be very little. The range was very small, and it used to, like, I feel like, yes, we lacked, but we did lack in a way that was very evident in the community. We were among the best dressed children growing up. If I remember keenly, like, my mom made sure that we were always smart, well taken care of. We also fed well. Like, growing up, we ate diverse foods. Like, she tried as much as possible to make sure we had all we needed. In her own creative way, she used the little that she had to make sure that we were comfortable. And this informed how I perceive life. It's not the comfort that you would think, the normal comfort, but within her means, we were comfortable. And now on the flip side, my dad used to drink, especially when I was younger, or at least when I didn't spend so much time with him, because he died when I was like 11 or thereabouts. No, I was 13. I was turning 13 on that year. I was 12. So he died back then. So at 12 years, probably you didn't know much. And also because he worked, there are years when he worked away from the family, or he was away from the family for one reason or another. So, but the little time that I knew him to be someone who visited the bar. So a lot of the money went there. I for sure remember us anticipating money, and then we'll realize that it has been used at the bar. So those are the memories I have. But also for him, when he had it, he spoiled us. Like, he will have the things we've always wanted. He would go out with us, take us to the salon, buy us nice things. I think generally both my parents were quite generous people. And I can't speak of his transparency, because then if you want to spare some money to use at the bar, I don't think you'll be so transparent. But I just remember him being generous, and not just to us. I remember earlier memories of my dad buying things, or rather even buying people things, and even at the bar, like buying people stuff, or even meeting children, and it'll be like, I met them, they looked like, there's a name that he used to use that meant chokora, like they looked like like they didn't have, like street children, so I bought them this and that. Like I bought you clothes, but I gave them because they looked like they needed it more. So yeah, basically my parents were generous. So I think that those are some of my earliest memories. And then after that, I grew up with my foster family. I think the memories I have of them is them investing a lot of their money and them doing big projects. And I think at that particular time, I got interested on how, like, you can make your money work for you. Like they did more than their salaries could do. And I think it's through investment, through leveraging on maybe things like also credits. I am not sure, but I think I saw money working for them for sure. So now that we've set the foundations, and now that you understand my background with money and my experiences as a young girl, maybe I can go right into it. But before I get there, I think my experience was, I was never given so much money. Like I never got to touch so much money when I was young. I'm not those people who touched a lot of money, but also I feel like up until now, I do not like handling money, like touching money. Like, I don't know, like I'll gladly hire someone to pay like bills for me, to make sure different things are paid for and all that, because I don't think money is something that I enjoy touching and handling and interacting with. If you understand what I mean, basically making those transactions. But I do enjoy a certain level of how I interact with money, and I'll get into that at some point. Yeah, so I hope you understand. More like paying the bills, paying who should be paid, like basically doing those. I don't think I'd enjoy being an accountant. I don't think I love interacting with money in that manner. So I had interacted with money when I was quite young. I remember when I was a teenager, in my early teenage, I used to make some money. Like I used to plate my friends here and I'll earn some money, but it used to be such a small amount. It will be nothing more than 50 Kenya shillings, something less than half of a dollar. And that's the much I'll earn from making my friends here. And apart from that, I also used to do some other kind of work. Yeah, there was a lot of, like where I grew up, children were doing work, like you'll accompany your parents to do some work, yeah, to offer additional labor, or even go by yourself to just work, hustle, just hustling. So I did that when I was young, and I started handling money way early in my life. And most of the time I'll earn that money to buy myself the extra things. As I've said, money was scarce at home, so I'd buy myself the extra things that I didn't get. Like you see, the things that you desire, maybe you desire certain maybe like this band that I have in my hair, or like these earrings. In as much as back then I never used to wear earrings, then if I wanted it and it was not in my parents' budget, then I'll just work and buy it for myself. Yeah, so basically that's how I think that is my debut to making money. So moving on, I was now in high school, and in high school I used to receive like pocket money, because you used to I was in boarding school. So in boarding school you'll get some pocket money, you'll get your transport to school, then you get some pocket money to buy some snacks. For luxury, to be sincere, because you used to be given enough meals to take care of us. So just in case you're going for an outing, when you're coming back home, you'll have some pocket money. During the weekends, we'll be sold like biscuits, lollipops and all that. So we used to get some pocket money. But I did mention that my foster parents were frugal. Then at that time, also people who were giving me pocket money were taking care of so many people. So I never used to get a lot of it. It was just enough to take care of that purpose, making calls at school, to call at home, and to buy little snacks, very, very little snacks for the during the term, and then the little amount left I'll use for my lunch when I'm traveling back. And I think also that really helped me, because I didn't grow to love money that much, but I used to manage whatever I got, manage it well, for it to last me the term. So yeah, so that was my experience in high school. Then I finished high school, I started the uni, and in uni I worked. I joined some friends who used to do some volunteer work, and you'll get little amounts of money, and that's when I started saving. And I tried different projects, some backfired, and yeah, I basically tried different activities. I really wanted to make money, like not in a very unrealistic way, but in a very decent way. Like I will look forward to getting opportunities to make money, and when they came, I took them and saved the money that I made. I remember like there's this group that I was with. It was actually people we did the same course, but they had gone ahead of me So we did some volunteer work with them, and we'd earn like 500 in a day. I can't remember, like there's someone who was taking care of all that, and we would save the entire amount. And I remember when I wanted to move out, I realized that I have the money in my bank, and that's the money I used to pay for my first rent. Yeah, so I saved a lot. Much of the money that I made while in campus, I saved it. I saved it or used it for charity. Yes. Also, I didn't mention, like I used part of that money to take myself through school, because I took a second course. If you remember the video that I shared about taking a second course, you can check. If you've not watched Reflecting on Career, you can go and watch that, and you'll understand that I took a second course. So I used part of the money to take care of my expenses around that course, whether it meant the transport to go to school, paying for my exams, paying for my tuition. I used part of the money there. So yes, basically when I made any money, it had to make sense, either saving it or using it to gain more knowledge. So that's basically how I spent. Fast forward, I'm done with campus and I'm working. I had not even graduated when I started working, but at that particular time it was an internship. Was it? It started as an internship. I did 6 months of internship. I didn't graduate on that year in as much as I was to graduate on that year, December. So I graduated in August the next year. So by August the next year, I'd done the internship, finished. Okay, 3 months, 3 months, then another 3 months of the same internship, and then I had gotten a job, not permanent and pensionable, but I was now earning a salary. So when I started doing that, I joined, those who don't know, Chama, and then I also I joined Chama, 2 Chamas, one for family and another one for with colleagues, and they were actually 3. I think they were actually 3. So that's how I saved. And also please note, this is based on the limited knowledge that I had. And yeah, that was my experience at that particular time. When I first got my first job, that is what I knew as saving, as saving and as investing. Like that's the much I knew. So basically that was, at that particular time I was around 23, 24, mid-20s. It was, I was, at that particular time I was in my mid-20s, and that's the much I knew. I remember in 2021, I actually became jobless at that time, and I remember I lost all my savings on a scam, trying to invest. I was trying to invest. By that time, I had started doing a lot of research on investing, and the one I knew became a scam. Like it is not entirely a scam, but the channel I used ended up being a scam. So yeah, the few things that I did in that year and the years around that, or the years before that, sort of, some worked for some time, but they are not permanent. There was pyramid scheme, there was a scam there. So that was my experience. That is in my mid-20s. So then I lost my job at 26, and now I was in my 27, 28. And during that time is when I learned a lot, and I'm going to share some of the lessons I got at that particular time of my life. After I lost all my life savings, they were not much, but it was all that I had. Also considering that my jobs were really small jobs, that I could barely save enough, and also the methods that I used to save were not like, I wasn't getting much returns from them. So I didn't have much. I was taking care of my bills and everything, so I wasn't able to have so much less savings, and I lost it on a scam, or rather someone scammed me and I lost the money. So I'll share some of the lessons I learned during that period of my life, and basically towards the end of my 20s, because those are the lessons that I used in my last 2 years of my 20s, and of course I'm using now that I have turned 30. So can we get right into it? So the first thing is money mindset and trusting God with finances. I don't think I've struggled with this. I've never been so obsessed with money that I forgot that ultimately God is my provider. I've seen God providing for me in when I didn't expect. So I always know that no matter where I am, no matter where I find myself, ultimately God is my provider. And even before I got this money, it was His. So even when I have it, I think where I begin is Him. And for example, And by saying that, I mean that if you know that the money belongs to God, you start by giving it back to Him. And that is through tithe, through first fruit and all that. So I think I started tithing when I was in high school, if I'm not wrong. Or if it's not tithing, I used to give. I used to be very diligent with giving. But also in campus, I just remember tithing as well in campus. I used to tithe. I used to participate in, like, if the church was being built, I'll give like small amount, like 300. Remember this time I gave, but that time I was working, so I might have been working. Was I can't remember, but I gave like 2,000, and I gave it slowly. I gave 500, 1,000, 300, like that. So I've always been a firm believer that if God gave me, then I can easily give Him, because even what I have is His. So I do not struggle with that mindset. And even when I lack, I know that it is God who will provide for me. So for me, that is the mindset I hold. So that is one, and that is something I learned not just in my 20s, but it was apparent in my 20s, because it is in my 20s when I lost my job. It is in my 20s when I was in so much lack. At certain times, I was making peanuts, like real peanuts. I was making such a little amount of money, and God pulled me out of that situation. It was also in my 20s where I created a vision board. Actually created a vision board with the amount I was hoping I will get, and then lost my job and I used to get nothing, like close to nothing. Okay, I used to make little money here and there, but you can't call it a salary. It was like I'll do gigs and get just money for transport, and to be able to buy credit and transport, really. And that year I'd put a certain amount in my vision board that I was able to earn in 2022. It was actually I did the vision board in 2020, going to 2021, and I earned the amount in 2022. So also just knowing that the way the Bible says that commit your desires to the Lord and He will establish them. What does the Bible say about our desires? If we give our desires to God, He's able to make it happen. I will put the verse here. It's also in my 20s that I learned the importance of savings and emergency funds. When I lost my job and my life savings were gone, I realized that it's important to always have an emergency fund. And it's not a fund that you hold because you don't trust God, but it's a fund that we hold because you are prudent. We will not eat everything we get, because we know that God also wants us to be stewards, and He wants us to be faithful in the way we do things. He wants us to, just to be diligent people. So I learned about the importance of savings, having some savings on the side, not spending everything, and where to exactly save, or where should you put an emergency fund. Before I just knew of the bank, but later on I learned that there's money market funds, there's circles, there's different avenues where you can put your money. I know bonds are not a saving platform, but there's also that when it comes to investment. I also learned that in as much as you want to invest, for example, in bonds, for example, in any other opportunity that comes your way, you should always know that an emergency fund should not be touched. That is for emergency. So you should have an emergency fund, then you should have the other things where you can invest, and that is for your investment. You can decide, it's upon your discretion to decide where you invest and how you invest it. But when it comes to the emergency fund, you should be very careful that you put them to low risk, to a place where there is low risk, just so that when you get the emergency, you can easily access it and use it for that. So at the moment, do I have a circle? Yes. Am I in a circle? Yeah, I'm in a circle. Do I have MMF? Yes. What else? Do I have a bank? Of course, the bank is for my salary. Yes, but I've identified different areas where I can put my money, and it's saved for a specific thing. They might not have, I'm not up there. Even as I talk, I'm not yet there. These are lessons I've learned, and it's taking me time to get there, but I know them deep down, and I'm walking a step at a time to ensure that I actually live what I believe is the life I'd want to live. I'm not just remaining where I was when I didn't know. Knowledge is power, and we can't get the knowledge and remain the same. It will be unfortunate that now you know, but you're still where you are when you didn't know. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's wise. As a wise person, if you get knowledge, it's good that you apply it. So the other thing that I have learned in my 20s is tracking my finances by keeping a budget and maintaining it. I think this is still an area of growth when it comes to tracking my finances and maintaining a budget. It's still an area of growth because I still struggle. I still set a certain target or certain budget for something, and I still find myself going beyond it. I'll say that entertainment, I'll use maybe 1,000 or I don't know, like for example, that's just an example, and then I'll go and maybe we are meeting with friends and I've paid for this meal, and then I've gone again and I've paid. You see, and not just to say that I've paid for them, even just paying for my own meals, and it has exceeded the set amount that I said that this is the much I can spend. I've also found myself in a situation where I put certain amount for contribution, and then there's a whole lot of things. There's a baby shower, there's a bridal shower, there's a wedding, there's like 5 things, and there's of course the expectation of the community. So just setting budgets and staying at that amount is still tricky. Also because we all have constraints when it comes to finances. The society wants you to behave in such a way to suggest that you're earning millions, but clearly you're earning what you're earning. And sometimes when all these things happen, there's expectations. If like 5 things happen where you need to contribute money, and say for example you're even just contributing 500, that is 2,500. I don't think many of us who have many of us are at a point where we are earning an amount that will have that as a percentage of what we'll be willing to give every month. Yeah, so it's a tricky space, but I think I'll get a hang of it. I'll get with boundaries, with continuously saying no to things that come and being disciplined. I think I'll get there over time. I think everything starts there because you can't save if you're not maintaining your budget or you're not tracking your money. There's so many things that you can't do if you don't track your finances. So the fourth thing that is really closely related to maintaining a budget is living within your means. I think that is informed by the budget. If your budget says, for example, you only have 2,000 for food per month, you can't be eating meat every other day. Why? Because you can't afford it. You can't be ordering out because I don't think there's an order that can go less than 500. So it's really knowing what your budget is saying and then aligning it with how you actually behave or to your lifestyle per se. Like it's looking at your budget. Your budget is saying for transport you have 5,000. You can't be taking certain Ubers. You'll just have to walk. You'll just have to jump on that motorbike. You'll just have to get into that matatu. You can't afford grabbing all these cabs left, right, and center because your budget has said you can't afford it. The other thing, and that's the fifth thing that is very key, and it's a lesson I've learned this year, is investing and building wealth. As I had said before, that I had, it's not like I was reckless when I was younger, but I was just saving money, more like being in all this chama where first money is not secure. In many chamas, money is not secure. If someone chooses, especially the person who's saving the money, to go with it, I mean, you're doomed. Or if anything happens to them, you're not assured of having your money. And also, some of them that we have, like these ones from workplace, like there's not even a constitution. Like there's nowhere where anyone has signed. So yeah. But also really, bank is not where we save our money. If you're saving it there, it will barely earn anything. Actually, banks and the interest in banks, when we save our money, most of the time it's a single digit. Whereas there are places where that money can create more money. So I have learned of things like shares. I don't know how this is called, but it's REIT. I've learned about bonds. I've learned about bills, treasury bills, treasury bonds, infrastructure bonds. I've learned that you can also buy a piece of land. You can buy an apartment. Those are some of the investment you can take part in. And that learning has really helped me because I needed it because I'm going into a very crucial phase of my life. And I am actually in a crucial phase of my life where I'm thinking about now my mid-years. And my mid-years means probably family, if God allows it. And even if there's no family, you don't want to leave. You don't want to be like 40 and you are the same way you were in 20s. You are calling to us for fair. Not like there are not people in that phase of their life where they do that. But if God gives you opportunities and you have information, it's good that you do better for yourself. So under that also, I've learned about passive income, and that is also when it comes to the bonds, the treasury bills, the treasury bonds. What else? Where else can you get shares? You can get both the interest that someone gets, but also really the dividends. There are also circles which give dividends. Like for example, one of the circles, Tima Circle, was giving dividends at I think 70% last year. And yeah, there's a lot that you can put your money into and you'll get some passive income. It can range from little to quite some good amount. Yeah. I want to emphasize on the issue of building wealth. Building wealth is not about greed. It's about being a good steward. I don't know whether you remember the parable of the talents, and Jesus gives a parable of more like a person who gave 3 talents to 3 servants. And the first one was given 5 talents, the second one was given 2 talents, and the last one was given 1 talent. And the one that was given 5 multiplied it. The one that was given 2 multiplied it. The first one hid it. And when when the owner comes back and he asks for his returns or what they did with the talent, the one that didn't multiply it said that I hid it because I know that you are a harsh man or something, and you like reaping where you did not sow. And the thing is, when you have finances, the wisest thing is to ensure that you multiply it, that it gains. And actually, the man says, "You'll have even let me have the money and put it at the bank, and that it might earn interest." And of course, for us, like bank is not even the best place to put it. And clearly, even the way Jesus is saying, like whatever in this parable it said, bank is the last option. Yeah. So if you can create wealth from whatever you have, the better. The sixth one is on generosity. It is very important to be generous. Oh my God. I can see our child being pushed. I don't want to see. Wacha wacheze. So I got distracted. I can see that through the window that is over here. It is very important to be generous. I read 2 verses that speak about generosity, and one of them is 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7, which says, God loves a cheerful giver. And then the other one is Luke 6:38, which says, give and it shall come back to you, good measure, pressed down together, running over, will be given to you. For whatever you give is whatever you get, something of the sort. I've paraphrased, I wasn't reading it. And it is important to give because the hand that gives is the hand that received. In my 20s, I've learned that it's not by holding back that I get more, but by giving, and not in a very unwise way, but in a very wise way. If I'm generous with what God has entrusted me with, God will even provide more. And the last one had to come just after generosity because it can reach a point where we can go overboard and we can be irresponsible. So that has to do with setting boundaries with finances. It is important to set boundaries with finances, especially if you are a people pleaser. You have to set boundaries with finances. I was speaking about that in my previous video where I was reflecting on friendships and community and talking about how I am very keen about setting my boundaries with friends, especially where money is concerned. And it is important to set also boundaries with finances, especially when it comes to giving, just so that you're not like my dad who used to give and would lack. Make sure even as you give, you're still doing what you're supposed to do. It will be not prudent to be giving, but you're not taking care of your responsibility. For example, you're supposed to pay fees for your children, but you're out there giving people generously, giving people money, but your own children are sent home. They will even hate you, or your own rent is not paid, unless you've heard the voice of God. And I believe that if God has told you to give for a certain situation or in a certain occurrence, He will somehow provide. And I think if there's no provision, then I want to say that probably you should try to evaluate if that was actually the voice of God, because I don't think that the voice of God will tell you to give, and then there's more harm. In the work that we do, we have a statement that says do no harm, meaning that when you're trying to help someone, that when you're trying to do a certain good in the community, you should ensure and you watch out that you don't cause more harm than good. So even as you give, make sure, and I know this is the way God operates, even as He allows you to give, He's doing no harm. He's doing no harm, especially when it comes to your children, your responsibilities. God will always provide. But for wisdom's sake, set boundaries. So having gone through all those lessons that I've had, what advice would I give my younger self? What advice would I give my younger self? I'll start by saying start saving and investing early. Of course, I was saving, but I wasn't investing. So I'd tell a younger person than me, start saving, but investing and investing early. Especially investing, because you see, when you're younger, you have less money. And so it's only when you're investing where that money will be compounding, and it's through that compounding or the interest that you get that you will in many years see the benefit. But if you're saving, you'll just find your money. If you're able to save 5,000, you just find it as it was. Like for my case, I only found my 5,000 as it was. But if I was investing it, I'm so sure after the many years, I'd have found it maybe even at 20,000. I'll have probably found it at 20,000. Yeah. So the first one is start saving and investing early with an emphasis on investing. The other one is live within your means. I think that is self-explanatory. You have no business spending what you don't have. The other one is budget. Budgeting is freedom. When you budget, it's not like you are denying yourself the joys. You're actually giving yourself freedom, spending what you have. And then when you budget, stick to the budget. Don't just draw a budget, put figures, and then you don't stick to it. Budget and stick to it. I'm still struggling with that myself. So if you start it early, the better. By the time you're 30, you've gotten that discipline and it's no longer a struggle. The other thing is trust God with your finances. God is a provider. God is a provider. And lastly, be generous. It's the hand that gives that receives. Those are the lessons that I've learned. That is the advice I have for a 20-year-old somewhere, or my 20-year-old self. Of course, I can't relive my 20s, but I think if someone listens to this, they can make steps that would make them to be at a better place than I am, finance-wise, in future. So which questions am I asking myself in my 30s? I'm asking myself hard questions, because how did we get here? How did we get here? So I'm asking myself, for example, ask the first question, where am I borrowing to give? If I don't have, I don't have. No matter how much you want, if I don't have, I don't have. And it is okay not to give because you don't have. Because what should you give? The other question is that in my budget? And I think I've said this so many times. I think every time I want to spend, the bigger question is, Gertrude, is that in your budget? If it's not, I have no business spending in that area. The third question is, what is the purpose of this saving or investment? Yes, I'm putting money. What is the purpose? For example, if I'm putting money in a circle, what is the purpose? Do I want to take a loan really? If I don't want to take a loan, then I don't have any business putting money in the circle. If I want passive income, where should I be putting money? If I want maybe I just want to save with people who can also look out for me when I am in trouble. Should I be getting into a chama? Because that's where people organize themselves and they come for burials and the weddings. So what is the purpose of me putting money in this pot or in this investment or saving platform? And the last question is, what do I need to learn and where can I learn it from? Later in my life, in my later 20s, it's when I realized there's so many platforms to learn a lot. And I feel like if I would have learned all this earlier, I wouldn't have found myself in certain situation. I found myself even just putting my money in the bank. I remember in 2022, I was setting aside some money. I won't mention the amount, but I was setting aside some money, which wasn't like bad money. It wasn't much, but it wasn't that bad. It would have been earning good interest. Money that no one can give you. Even if you earn an interest like 500 per month, who can give you that money? And that money is enough for a bill. Like you can pay for electricity with 500. You can, there are places you can do your nails with 500. You can straighten your hair with 500. So instead of putting that money in a place where it could earn something, I put it in a very funny place where I found it just the way. 6 months later, I found it just the way I was putting it, and I was mad. Okay, it was a confusion because I had asked them to open to the bank, and I had asked them to open for me a saving account, an account that is earning an interest, even if it's a small interest, but they chose to open for me the normal accounts. So the money did not earn a shilling. I looked like in the parable, the person that was given one talent, the way he behaved, that's how I felt at the end of it. But we learn, we live to learn. So when we learn, we do better. So I think having said that, what lesson have you learned? If not from yourself, from what I've said, what lesson have you learned? Would you want to share it? Would you want to drop your comment? I'd love to really hear what lessons you've learned throughout your life and how you'll want to do better. And as we go into that, I just want to read a few scriptures that speaks about money. I know most of the time we know the scripture that says the love of money is the root of all evil, but do all scriptures speak about money that way, or don't they? I will read a few scriptures. I will start with Proverbs 3:9-10, which says, honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruit of your crop. Then your barns will be filled with overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine. That's Proverbs 3:9-10. Of course, that is speaking about generosity and giving to God, really trusting God as the ultimate provider, giving back to him when he gives you. The other one is on Proverbs 13:11, which says, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little make it grow. So let's make money grow. Let's save little by little. 1 Timothy 6:17-19 says, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God. I think this is about perspective about money. Ultimately, our hope is in the Lord. We will use money as one of the resources God has given us, but is our hope in this money? No, our hope is ultimately in the Lord. And finally, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. This is only telling us that you have to be faithful with the much that you have. You don't have to wait until you have so much and say, like, I'm just waiting to be a millionaire. That's when I start investing. Or I'm waiting, I can't be saving this 15K I'm getting. I can't be saving this 20 Gs I'm getting. Even if you decide to save 10 shilling. I remember in 2020, I met a guy. Their group is called 10 Bob Daily. And they used to save 10 shillings daily. 10 bob. 10 bob. So in a month, how much is that? 300, yeah? But it doesn't look like it. But there are also women who are in groups whereby they save. Like the money they bring is so little. It's so little. But I think ultimately they have something to their name. They're not the same as the person who's not saving anything. So no matter how little you think you have, be faithful with that. And I think that's it for today. I hope you've learned a few things from me, my experiences, my failures, my achievements. I think also I'm proud of myself of how, with the knowledge that I have, of course, I had limited knowledge. I made some mistakes, but I'm proud of the lessons I learned, how I picked up myself from the failures I made, and the person I've become over the years. I would say that I'm perfect where I am, but I'm still learning by day. If today someone has to say something about financing, I'll still sit down and listen. So yeah, that's where we are. I hope we are also open to learning, because knowledge never gets old every day, and we never get enough of knowledge. There's always something to learn each and every day. So that's it from me about finances. I hope we do better. We really do better, whether in your 20s, whether you're in your 40s. This is just me talking about myself in my 30s, but I don't think there's any restriction. If you're starting all over again at 50, well and good. If you're starting all over again at 40s, well and good. If you're starting and you're just 25, don't feel like you're too young to be starting, or you're too young, this doesn't concern you, listen to it when you're 30, start now. If you're 20, I think every time I meet my friends who are younger, or like my sister, I'm like, open this, start doing this. It's just this week that I was talking to a friend, I was telling her, call the circle people, call them today. And also to speak to this friend of yours, I'll speak to this other one. All the best. I feel like I've said so much. I feel like I can be a finance coach. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you for watching it till the end. God bless you so much. I want to see you at the top, thriving as far as finances is concerned. All the best in life.